I showed up to my son's lavish anniversary only to hear, "Sorry you're not invited." Then my deal called security and said, "Get this old woman out." So I left. Quietly canceled every payment. Later, my phone lit up with 36 missed calls. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime, and I stepped into the polished marble lobby of the Lafayette Club, clutching a silver-wrapped gift box tight against my chest. A hush hung over the hallway outside the ballroom, velvet rope-soft classical music, and the faint clinking of champagne glasses just beyond the doors. The kind of place where people wore quiet wealth like perfume. My heels echoed softly as I approached the hostess stand. She looked up with a professional smile, tablet in hand. "Good evening," I said, smoothing the front of my black dress. "I'm here for the Morgan anniversary celebration. Camellia Morgan." Her fingers tapped quickly, scrolling. The smile faltered. "I'm sorry, could you repeat the name?" "Camellia. Remy Morgan is my son. This is his and Liana's 10-year anniversary." Her brows creased as she scrolled again, slower this time. "I don't see a Camellia Morgan on the list." "There must be a mistake," I said more softly, now heat rising to my cheeks. "I helped plan this. I paid the deposit." She looked up uncertain. "Let me get the coordinator." I turned slightly, my eyes catching glimpses through the frosted doors, white roses and crystal glasses. Laughter. I recognized my cousin Martine, already tipsy and holding court at a center table. And then the doors opened wider, and Liana stepped out. Her eyes landed on me instantly. Her expression was perfectly composed, but there was no welcome in it. "You're not on the guest list, Camellia." I tried to keep my voice calm. "There's no list without me. I paid for this room." Her eyes flicked to the hostess, then to someone behind her. A man in a dark suit approached. "Security." I turned. Remy had stepped into the hallway. He looked crisp in his black tuxedo, older than I remembered. His eyes wouldn't meet mine. "Remy," I said, my voice unsteady. "What is this?" He didn't answer at first. Just glanced at the security guard, then at the hostess. "I told you not to come," he murmured. "This isn't the time." The guard stepped forward. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I walked toward the elevator, still holding the box. Silver wrapping, blue ribbon, inside 2 matching watches, engraved, still ticking. It wasn't always like this. There was no fair feet, and cereal-stained pajamas shouting, "Mom!" Looked like I was the center of his entire world. I still remember the weight of his small hand in mine. As we walked into the funeral home the day we said goodbye to his father. He was 9. I was 38. And terrified. After Marcus died, everything changed. I put my paintbrushes away, boxed up the canvases, and took a job in compliance at a financial firm downtown. Art didn't pay the bills. And bills didn't pause for grief. I told myself it was temporary, just until we got our feet under us. But temporary has a way of becoming permanent when a child needs braces, then tutoring, then college. I never missed a tuition payment. I co-signed the lease for his first off-campus apartment. I packed care boxes every midterm when he called me at 22, saying he had a business idea and needed seed money. I didn't ask how risky it was. I wrote the check. His first marketing startup failed within the year, but I told him failure was part of the journey. That's what mothers do. We find ways to turn disappointment into momentum. And then he met Liana. She came from a family with country club roots and ice in their smiles. The first time I met her, she looked me over like I was someone who had wandered in off the service elevator. I tried. God knows I tried. I sent her flowers when she got promoted, invited her to brunch, complimented her dresses. She accepted all of it with the blank courtesy of a woman raised to believe politeness was a form of superiority. Slowly, I felt myself being edged out. When they got engaged, I found out through a Facebook post, a glossy photo of Liana's hand, her diamond the size of a blueberry, and a caption that said he asked. I said yes. There was no call, no invitation, not even a text. I congratulated them anyway. A week later, Remy emailed me a link to a luxury resort in Belize. "We're thinking of this for the honeymoon. Do you think you could?" No apology. No acknowledgement. Just a trailing question and an unspoken expectation. I booked it that night. I also wrote a check for the down payment on their first home. When I dropped the envelope off, Liana didn't offer me a seat. I stood there holding my purse like a guest in a stranger's house. And for the first time I wondered how a woman could disappear so completely from her own family. But I wasn't ready to let go. Not then. I told myself things would change after the wedding. They didn't. It started with Thanksgiving. The first year after the wedding I called to ask what I could bring, assuming I'd be helping in the kitchen, like always. Remy sounded hesitant. Actually, Liana's parents are hosting this year. It's a bit tight on space and they're keeping it small. He said it like he believed it. I said, I understood. The following year it was Christmas, then Easter, then birthdays. The excuse changed. Sometimes it was a scheduling conflict, other times a flu going around, but the message stayed the same. We're doing something else without you. I stopped asking eventually, but the invitations never came back. Despite the absence, my name was never far when money was involved. When Liana was pregnant, I was told through a forwarded email that the baby registry was digital only. I ordered the most expensive items, the smart crib, the organic mattress, the high-end monitor. There was no thank you card, but a photo appeared a week later on Liana's Instagram story, with the caption, "Can't wait to use this," as if it had arrived from a cloud. When the baby came early and Remy called at 2 a.m. asking for help covering the unexpected hospital bills, I transferred the money before the call even ended. When the nanny quit and Liana was too exhausted to interview replacements, I covered a temporary placement service. When the school application deadline came and they realized they hadn't budgeted for private tuition, I wrote another check. There was always a reason, always a need, and always me. Over time I started documenting everything. Not because I planned to confront them, but because I needed something solid to hold on to, a ledger of my own worth, a reminder that I was still present even if they pretended I wasn't. I kept the receipts in a folder labeled Family Support. It made me feel less erased. The call about the anniversary party came 6 months before the event. Liana's voice was soft, almost syrupy. Remy and I want to do something elegant for our 10th, she said. Nothing over the top, just a private evening at the Lafayette Club. You'll be the first person we think. She said it like a promise. Then came the number, $18,000. Just the deposit. I hesitated just for a second. Then I said yes. She didn't ask if I would be attending, and I didn't dare ask if I was invited. I told myself I didn't need the answer spelled out, but I think deep down, I already knew. I sat in my car long after I pulled into the garage, the engine off the gift box, still on the passenger seat. The sapphire ribbon had come undone during the ride. It curled now like a question mark on the floor mat. I kept hearing it, his voice low and cold. "Get this beggar out of here, beggar." The word clung to me like a stench. I pressed my fingers to my temples, as if I could squeeze it out of my head. I had wanted to be part of his joy. I had dressed up, bought something thoughtful, spent hours choosing words for the card I never got to give. But to them I was a nuisance, an embarrassment, a problem to be removed. My phone lit up beside me. "Thalia." I answered without thinking. "What's wrong?" She said, immediately sensing something. "I got kicked out," I whispered. "What do you mean, kicked out?" "They had security escort me." "Remy?" He didn't say a word to stop them. "I'm coming over," she said without hesitation. "Don't move." She arrived 20 minutes later, breathless, still in scrubs. She didn't ask questions at first. She just climbed into the passenger seat, picked up the gift box, placed it carefully in the back seat and opened her arms. I cried then. Not quiet, polite sobs, but the kind that come from a hollowed place. When the tears finally slowed, I took a deep breath, reached into my bag and pulled out the manila folder I never told anyone about. "What's this?" she asked. "My records," I said. "Every transfer, every check, every favor." She helped me carry it upstairs. At my kitchen table, I opened my laptop and pulled up the spreadsheet I'd started 9 years ago and never stopped updating. We scrolled through line after line. Hospital bills, birthday trips, tuition, top-ups, car repairs, business seed, money, household emergencies. The total at the bottom read, 3 to 12, 4, 86, 92. I hadn't looked at the number in a while. Even I was stunned. "That doesn't count the cruise I booked for their anniversary," I said. "Or the Disney trip for the kids next month. Or the school deposit for the fall." Thalia stared at the screen. "Cam, this isn't generosity. This is extraction. They don't love you. They use you." I shook my head. "They used to love me. Remy did. When he was little, he'd crawl into bed and call me his favorite person. Now I only hear from him when a bill's due." Thalia reached for my hand. "You don't deserve this." "No," I said, finally steady. "But I allowed it." I made it easy. We sat in silence. I scrolled up the spreadsheet again, eyes landing on the column, labeled Family Support. Then I opened a new tab and created a second one, Cancellations. The next morning I woke with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. It wasn't joy or relief. It was colder than that. Still. Like stepping into a room you've been locked out of for a long time and finding the air untouched, waiting. I made coffee, opened my laptop and pulled up the spreadsheet. First, the cruise. 7 nights through Alaska's Inner Passage. I had booked it 3 months ago as their anniversary gift, complete with balcony suite and private excursions. I dialed the travel agent, confirmed my identity and said I need to cancel this reservation. There was a pause. She read me the cancellation policy. A small fee. I agreed without flinching. Refund the balance to my card, I said. And please don't notify the passengers. I'll handle it. Next, the Disney trip for the twins. I had arranged every detail: flights, hotel, very important person, park tours. When I called to cancel, the rep asked if I wanted to reschedule. No, I said. Full cancellation, please. Then came the school deposit. I emailed the admissions office explaining that the tuition deposit for Jackson Morgan would not be completed. No explanation offered. Just a clean break. Finally, the golf club. Remy's name was on the account, but I was the one paying the annual fees. I called the membership director and requested non-renewal. We'll be sorry to lose them, he said. I won't be, I replied, and ended the call. I opened a blank email. Typed slowly. Carefully. Subject: financial support. Final notice. Please redirect all future charges to Remy and Leanna Morgan. Effective immediately. I will no longer provide financial contributions, guarantees, or coverage of any kind. This decision is final. No apology, no justification, just the boundary. Clearly drawn. Then I did one last thing. I wired $18,000, the same amount I had given for the anniversary party, to a local scholarship fund under Marcus's name. He had been a public school teacher before cancer took him. I told the foundation it was for students from single-parent homes with artistic aspirations. I added a small note in honor of quiet sacrifices no one sees. When the confirmation came through, I sat for a long time staring at the screen. I felt hollow, but it was a clean hollow. Like a wound finally cleaned out, even if it still stung. I picked up my phone and blocked their numbers one by one, not out of hatred, not even out of anger, just necessity. I needed space where their demands couldn't follow me. And for the first time, silence felt like protection, not punishment. That afternoon I took the folder from my desk drawer, the one where I had kept every receipt, and moved it to the trash. I didn't shred it. I just didn't want it nearby anymore. I'd done what I came to do. Now I had to prepare for what would come next. The pounding started before I'd even of the tentative knocks of someone unsure if they're welcome. I didn't need to look through the peephole to know who it was. I opened the door slowly, keeping my hand on the frame. Remy stood in front, jaw tight, eyes sharp. Liana was just behind him. Arms crossed, lips pressed into a thin line. Her mother, Claudette, hovered at the edge, sunglasses still on despite the morning light. What is going on? Remy demanded, stepping forward without waiting for an invitation. You canceled everything, Liana followed. The Disney trip. The cruise. Jackson's school deposit. Claudette made a sound of disapproval in her throat, like she was witnessing a social offense more than a family fracture. I stepped aside. Come in if you're here to talk like adults. They filed in, tense and silent. I motioned toward the dining table, already set with a manila folder and a printed spreadsheet. I had anticipated this. You're punishing us, Remy said, pacing now. This is about the party, isn't it? No, I said. This is about a decade, Liana scoffed. We didn't ask you to do those things. You offered. I tapped the spreadsheet gently. This is everything I've contributed to your lives over the last 9 years. Itemized, dated, labeled. Claudette stepped closer to skim the list. Her expression didn't change. That's money, Liana said. Not love. No, I replied quietly. That was me trying to earn love. To stay relevant, to be included. I gave because I thought I mattered. Remy sat down heavily. You do matter. Then why didn't you look at me? I asked. He looked confused. I pulled my phone from the table and hit play on a voice memo. It was quiet at first. The murmur of voices from the lobby of the Lafayette Club. Then the security guard's voice. She's not on the list, sir. A pause. Then Remy's voice, unmistakable. Just get rid of her. The room fell into a stunned silence. I stopped the recording. You didn't even look at me, I said again, my voice steady. You knew I was there. You knew I paid for the room you were standing in. And you let them treat me like a stranger. Remy put his head in his hands. Liana folded her arms tighter. That was a misunderstanding. she said. No, I replied. That was clarity. That was everything I needed to hear. Claudette stepped forward, then cool and polished. This is deeply unfortunate, she said. But you're blowing it out of proportion. I turned to her. I didn't invite you here to be measured. I invited you to listen. She turned away, without another word. Liana stood. We'll figure out the deposits ourselves. I nodded. Remy lingered for a moment longer. I didn't think you'd actually cut us off. I didn't think you'd let me be thrown out, I said. When they left, I closed the door slowly behind them, hands still on the knob, long after the click of the lock, in the stillness that followed. I didn't cry. I didn't pace. I walked to the kitchen, poured myself another cup of coffee, and sat in the chair. I had pulled out for them, but never used. 6 weeks passed. Not all at once, not cleanly, but slowly, like a tide retreating after a storm. The days came quiet and uneventful. I didn't count them. I just let them move through me. I filled the silence with routine. Morning walks, black coffee, therapy once a week with a woman named Gwen, who didn't flinch when I said things like, I think I raised someone who doesn't see me as a person. She nodded, asked thoughtful questions, gave no promises of healing, but reminded me that awareness was a kind of freedom. I pulled my paints from the closet. My brushes had stiffened, some too far gone to save, but I didn't throw them out. I lined them up across the table like familiar ghosts and began again, not to sell, not to impress, just to remember what it felt like to create something that didn't ask for anything in return. The money I'd once earmarked for Liana's kitchen remodel or Jackson's tuition, I put it somewhere new. A small grant fund in Mark Hughes's name. Nothing flashy, just a quiet financial control. I kept the first check anonymous. That felt right. One afternoon, I opened the mailbox to find a pale pink envelope with crooked handwriting. Inside was a sheet of lined paper covered in purple ink. Dear Grandma, I miss you. Mommy says you're mean, but I know you're kind. I liked your necklace and your cookies. Do you still paint, love, Naomi? I sat at the kitchen table holding it for a long time. Her small voice slipped through every wall I had built. I pulled out my stationery and wrote back that night. I didn't mention her mother. I didn't ask for visits. I just told her about a painting I was working on and that I missed her too. That painting would become the centerpiece of the first exhibition I'd had in 20 years. I didn't plan it. One of Gwen's friends from a gallery saw my work and made the suggestion. I said no 3 times before finally agreeing. The piece I submitted last was the one I'd avoided finishing. It had started as a table full of people, blurred faces, shadowed eyes, but over time I painted each one out until only the table remained, and one chair pulled out slightly, waiting. I didn't name the painting at first. Then I remembered something Marcus once said after Remy's 5th birthday party when everyone left and it was just the 3 of us eating leftover cake in a quiet kitchen. The real love shows up after the party's over. I named it after the party. The gallery opening was scheduled for a Friday evening in early spring. I spent the morning finishing a letter to Naomi, including a tiny watercolor sketch I made just for her. I sealed it, addressed the envelope and set it by the door before going to change for the show. Epilogue. Still her mother. The voicemail came late at night. His voice quieter than I remembered. I saw your name in the paper. I never realized how much you were doing for all of us. I don't know what to say. I listened once, then deleted it. No message could undo what had already been done. The next morning I framed Naomi's drawing and hung it beside after the party. 2 truths, side by side. One tender, one earned. I stood back and took it in. I didn't stop being his mother. I just stopped being their fool.